I am a simple girl. Some have actually even labeled me as naive. Now, I took offense at that, especially when a professor in seminary told me that I was just too naive. I decided that after 2 or 3 people decided to say that, perhaps I should look it up and see what it meant. Naive, according to our dictionary.com, is having or showing unaffected simplicity of nature or absence of artificiality, unsophisticated and ingenious. Not such a bad thing to be. God knows this other thing about me, though, about all of us, actually. And He understands that we need things simply put. Yes? Yes. Here's the deal. He looks at us, His creation, way back in the garden, and He decided to start very simply. And He gave them one rule. Just one. One rule. And it proved to be their undoing. They couldn't even stick to one rule. So I'm not exactly sure why it was then that the Pharisees thought it was a great idea to slap on 613 more. I don't understand. Jesus dealt with this as a Pharisee came to Him, and we find the story in Mark chapter 12, and the whole thing is there between verses 24 and 38. 28 and 34. We'll get that right. And here's the thing. He comes to Jesus and He says, you just did a great job putting those guys in their place. That's my translation. And He asked Jesus, of all the commandments, which is the most important? Going back to one rule. The most important, Jesus said, is the commandment, listen. Listen, O Israel, the Lord our God is the one and only Lord, and you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. And the second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. This passage that Jesus refers to is the great Shema. Hear, O Israel. And they recited the Shema several times a day. And the reason they did that is they were celebrating a relationship with God and their allegiance to God. Now, when this guy came to Jesus, He looked at him and He said in the language of the people of that day, Rabbi, what's your yoke? And when I heard that, and I began to understand that, He was not just asking him, you know, what's your yoke? He's saying, how do you interpret the Torah? And how should we? And Jesus answers with the greatest commandment, which tells us what the Bible's all about and what we should be all about. The bottom line, very bottom line, is Jesus tells us that relationship with God is essential. We've already heard that Jesus invited people to come to Him. And that we are to not take, I'm disappearing, our relationship for granted. Here's something I want you to do. Draw a circle. Everybody draw a circle. Because I'm going to draw one and it won't be round. All right? I believe that as the great commandment gave us the basic foundation for everything, this wonderful little illustration is going to give us what we need too. For we should love the Lord our God with all our heart. Hurry up, I'm running out of time. I use action because 2 S's would be absolutely too confusing. So here's the thing. I went to a seminar that looked at this with a church where I was a pastor, and they had 5 splits in 3 years. And they were hurting and they were reeling. And we went to the seminar because we were going to learn how to do it right. And the lady told us that this could teach us about our churches, because our churches had one of these things. And every one of the laymen, 10 of them, all said mind. And I came up with heart, and we were going to be in trouble for the next 3 years, I could tell. But what Jesus wants us to understand is that the secret is in the allness. And if we will find the balance of loving Him with all our heart, all our soul, all our mind, and our strength and our actions, we will find the rest and the yoke that is easy that He offers us.